What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, Carved Up Vegan Muscle, and you are watching my training from this past week. I think this was Friday, and I think I have about 385 pounds loaded on the bar, so this is definitely not my max, but I think a few months ago I posted a video I did 385 for 5, so this was 385 for 3 on the squat, and it wasn't too bad. My goal today was to work up. Well, sorry, before I get too into depth in this, I just want to kind of explain my training and what I'm doing right now and how things are going. This was a primarily strength day, meaning the reps were fairly low and I was working at higher intensities. And so I worked up to an RPE standing for rate of perceived exertion of 9. And 9 meaning I had about 1 rep left in the tank, or I could have potentially done 1 more rep than I did. I think this was actually on the lighter side. I don't even think I made it to an RPE of 9. I think I wrote this down in my journal as an RPE of 8.5 or something like that, because I think I could have actually done 2, maybe 3 more. But I went on the lighter side, and then I removed about 10%, so instead of continuing with 385, I took about 40 pounds off and came down in weight. I might not have taken quite 10% off since it was a low RPE, but you know, if it's like an RPE of 9.5 or 10, like it's an all-out max, then I'll probably take more than 10% off. If it's an RPE of like 8 or 8.5, then I might not take quite 10% off because I'm able to do more in my back offsets. So this day I set my timer because I was only going to squat for 25 minutes. So I worked up, or like 25 to 28 minutes, I think is what I said. So I set my timer right before I started and even before my first warm-up set. So I worked up to those weights using, doing like 1 or 2 reps at like 135, 185 pounds, 225, just adding either a 25 or a 45 pound plate on each bar. And I just squatted until I got up to that area. So, and then I did those back off sets, and I did as many as I could do in 25 minutes. So here we are. This was actually pretty tough. 275 has felt easier at times, but since I've been losing weight, I'm down about 6 or 7 pounds now from where I started at when I started losing weight, and my bench press has probably been more affected. So that was a rough bench there that I did at 275 for 3, and those were paused, of course. The day following this, I'll post another video of my training, but the day following this on Saturday, I also bench pressed, but I did the touch and go bench presses where you just kind of bring it down and tap it on your chest and then press it back up, and I also did 275 for 3. But this day, 275 for 3 was like an RPE of 9.5 or 10. That was a rough set. And then the day after this, where I did touch and go bench press, or the ballistic style bench press, I did 275 for 3, and doing it that way was like an 8.5 RPE, so it was not very hard. So this is my strength portion of the week, where I kind of work in lower reps, sets of 1 to 3, so this week I'm working in 3s. And earlier in the week, on Monday and Tuesday, I actually work in sets of anywhere from 4 to 6, so I might do sets of 6, and then usually I have another exercise that I do specifically for hypertrophy, and those are either usually 6s or 8s. So this day I think I'm doing overhead press. Right now overhead press is an accessory movement because nothing that I'm doing in the upcoming months will actually involve overhead pressing. So for strongman, overhead pressing is actually the dominant move. You rarely see anything that pertains to bench pressing. So bench pressing is an accessory movement in strongman. It's not a primary movement. But since I am competing in powerlifting, in that case, overhead pressing would be an accessory movement. So I'm only doing it for some additional hypertrophy or muscle growth movements here. Not that I'm growing a whole lot of muscle right now, being that I'm in a calorie deficit. And I'm actually down to eating around 3,000 calories per day right now, which, it does things with your mind. I'll be a better athlete as I get leaner, but it does become difficult thinking, well, I'm losing weight, even though my strength has continued to slowly go up, which I'm happy about. I can't really complain about that. I lost some off of my deadlift as when I started this, but I wasn't deadlifting as often. But now I'm actually back up to doing deadlifts twice a week, and I think that's probably more ideal for to stay that way. But anyway, so that's kind of that. But anyway, so I also have a variety of different movements that I do. So earlier in the week, rather than doing like deadlift itself, the movement, I'll do a deficit deadlift where I stand on 2-inch blocks and deadlift with that. And so it just changes things up a little bit. I have several different kinds of bench presses, from floor presses to Paul's bench presses, and then, as I mentioned already, the ballistic style bench press. And then also for squats, I do Paul's squats, I do front squats, and then later in the week I do just regular squats. So that kind of explains the train for a little bit. I'll post one other training video maybe sometime today or tomorrow, and kind of go over that. That is a little bit different. It's the deadlift day. So this was the kind of the squat and pressing dominant day, and I have a deadlift day where I also press, and I'll show you guys that. So hope you enjoyed it. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.